Biden has condemned Iran's brazen attack. U.S. President's statement after Netanyahu's phone call. Biden has reaffirmed his ironclad commitment, saying that we will remain vigilant to all threats. Reaction coming in there from U.S. President Joe Biden. This is a statement coming in that he says that the United States will remain vigilant at all times. He has condemned the brazen attack by Iran in that phone call with the Israeli Prime Minister. He has reaffirmed the ironclad commitment. The latest attack, the latest news that we're getting to right now on the broadcast of the United States reaction to the escalating war in West Asia after Iran used missiles with separable warheads for the first time against Israel. This morning, we had seen over 200 drones and missiles headed towards Israel. Joining me on the broadcast for more on this, we're joined by my correspondent Susan Teherani from New York. Susan, how do you view Biden's response to Iran's attack on Israel? What are you picking up?
Well, we do have a statement by the White House of President Joe Biden basically saying that earlier today, Iran and its proxies operating out of Yemen, Syria, and Iraq launched an unprecedented air attack against military facilities in Israel. He says that he condemned these attacks in the strongest terms possible. At his direction, he says, to support the defense of Israel, the U.S. military moved aircraft and ballistic missile defense destroyers to the region over the course of the past week and basically shot down some of those drones from Iran going to Israel. He adds that he spoke with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reaffirm America's ironclad commitment to the security of Israel. He also says that he told Israel that it demonstrated a remarkable capacity to defend against and defeat even unprecedented attacks, that Israel managed to send a clear message to its foes that they cannot effectively threaten the security of Israel. We do know that President Biden tomorrow will convene G7 leaders to coordinate a diplomatic response to Iran's attack. President Biden says in this statement that his team will engage with their counterparts in the region as well. However, NBC is saying that people familiar with the conversation between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu are picking up that President Biden expressed concern that Israel may respond hastily to this attack by Iran and perhaps cause a regional wider war. This is according to NBC, people familiar with those conversations. We do know that along with G7 leaders and the United States, the UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting tomorrow, which is Sunday, which would be today your time, at around 4 p.m. local time regarding this situation as well.
Right, and so we have seen Biden's response. You're saying that he will convene an urgent G7 meeting to give a befitting response to Iran. What more can you tell us on that?
So it's clear that President Biden wants to have his allies, notably in the region, be on his side in defending Israel. They also, no one of President Biden's allies or G7 nations really wants to see a wider Middle East conflict. The issue right now is by Iran attacking Israel from its soil has crossed Israel's red line, which Benjamin Netanyahu had warned against. To what extent G7 leaders, President Biden included, will be successful in trying to deter Israel from launching a greater counterattack against Iran is yet to be seen. We know Israel will retaliate. We just don't know how big and how strong of a retaliation that will be.
Right. Also, Susan, do tell us, what does this is in terms of the escalation in the war in West Asia at this point of time? What does this all mean?
Well, this is really uncharted territory. No one expected, it was a possibility, but really no one expected Iran to go and attack Israel from its own soil. This is the most tense that it has been in decades. What was predicted was that Iran's proxies would carry out some attacks and retaliate. I mean, even when Qasem Soleimani, the general, was killed, the Iranian general was killed by the United States, there wasn't such a harsh attack on the part of Iran. It was a lot more subdued than what we're seeing right now. So the question right now is, by Iran launching this attack, knowing that it was Israel's red line, then is it sending the message that it's ready, basically, for anything that comes its way?
Susan, also what we're learning right now is that the U.S. House of Representatives will change its schedule to consider a legislation to support Israel in light of Iran's attack and hold Tehran accountable. This is news that's trickling in right now.
Yes, that's right. The House is expected to change its schedule to consider Israel legislation next week. The House of Representatives says that its reports are coming in that this schedule change is because of these attacks on the part of Iran. I do want to say what Steve Scalise said in his post on X. He said, in light of Iran's unjustified attacks on Israel, the House will move from its previously announced legislative schedule next week to instead consider legislation to support our ally Israel and hold Iran and its terrorist proxies accountable. Yes. Now, as you know, there has been concern about why the House isn't passing the budget that Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine needs for its defense. So this will be interesting to see how this develops.
Susan Tehrani, my correspondent, joining us live from New York. Thank you so much for joining us. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.